listening to AstroDetectives, where longtime friends Scott and Sarah try to debunk
or prove
the ancient practice of astrology.
I'm Sarah Hartshorn, the astrologer.
And I'm Scott Randall, the skeptic. Each episode, I'll give Sarah 2 natal charts. One chart matches the exact moment of birth for our mystery guest, and the other is just a red herring.
I'll use astrology to detect which chart belongs to our guest. And with a little help from my underground network of AstroDetectives, this case is as good as solved.
Oh, we'll see about that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of AstroDetectives. We're hot off our episode with Manny, so I know everybody's excited for this episode. I think they're listening to it first thing in the morning, so I'm going to say good morning, everybody. Good morning, Sarah, even though we record in the evening.
I have no idea when people are listening to this.
Well, I set the automatic upload for like 4 a.m. Pacific time.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we have some rabid fans that are waiting by their phone.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking on the East Coast, maybe 7 a.m. They want to have it in the feed ready for the drive to work, so we got to get it up at 4 a.m. West Coast
we got to get it up at 4 a.m.
We do. We can't let down the listeners.
But, you know, we do have international listeners who we love. So
yeah, they stay up until who knows when it comes out. They stay up until 11 p.m. when the episode drops in Australia. No, it drops the next day for them. I don't know. Mm-hmm. This could make my head hurt. Yeah. Anyway, Sarah, we've been doing this. This is episode 44. We like to do the we like to do the record at the beginning now, just because our little intro explained for any new listeners who are just tuning in kind of what we're doing. But where do we stand right now at episode 44?
Oh, you're asking me? I thought you were going to read it at me. Yeah, it's 56.5, Scott. We got it up to 60%. We just kissed 60%, and then I got real excited about that, and then we kind of had some slip ups. But I've been, I would say the ones that we've slipped up on are ones where I felt like the charts were remarkably similar. Not necessarily ones where I was going in like super confident that we'd gotten it right. But, you've been pretty good about working with me on, the tweaks I like to make sure the charts are different enough to really stand out for this test where we're interviewing a person for 1 hour. We're limited in what we can get from this interview. And so I think this chart should be very distinguished from each other, for this experiment to work.
Well, I'm glad we got some good charts in your hand, and you're not going to have to work on it alone. Who's helping you out this week?
Awesome. Well, today we have a returning astrologer that we're excited to have back. She is from Sedona, Arizona. It's a beautiful place, and has over 35 years of experience in astrology. So please welcome Mindy Mendelsohn. Welcome back to AstroDetectives.
I am thrilled to be back.
You were nervous,
but thrilled.
Yeah, you were on episode 21 with Sylvia in the 8th house, and we got that one correct. That felt like a really easy case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the charts felt pretty different, and her story aligned so well with her chart. So
yeah. Well, we're hopefully we have something more challenging for you today. If that one was a cakewalk,
Yeah, this one's mysterious.
Ooh. Well, what are some of the differences that you guys noticed between these two charts, and what are you going to be looking for when we meet our guest in a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, one thing that stands out is maybe the financial access for these two people is a little bit different. One seems a little bit maybe like is going to have some more challenges around income and debt, or there are other topics that go along with that financial access. But just to keep it really brief, because I know you like to keep it brief, I feel like what is going to maybe I didn't even say what the charts were. So usually we say what they are. So let me do that real quick. So we have a Gemini sun with a Leo moon, and this is a Taurus rising. So that puts the Gemini sun in the second house, and their Venus in Cancer in the third. And then we have a Pisces sun with a Sag moon and Aquarius rising. And this Aquarius rising has a lot of similarities to their chart, to my chart. So I don't know if that'll be an advantage, but I hope it will. But for me, the finances might be different stories. One might be more challenging than the others. How about you, Mindy?
Well, for me, it comes down to the moon, not just the sign of the moon, but house placements and the aspects to the moon, and then the moon's nodes. We don't realize it, but because we live in our moon, we talk our moon. So it becomes more obvious when you're listening to people. Way back when I was what I call a baby astrologer, I think my first professional readings were in like 1987. I would play the skeptics game of, oh yeah, you're an astrologer, guess my sign. And I'd always be wrong. And then later we'd find out I'd guessed their moon.
So what is the difference to you between like a Leo moon and a Sag moon?
Well, a Leo moon really, it's very important to them to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just, and granted, we've got two houses here as well. And it's not just that it's a Leo moon. It's a Leo moon conjunct Mars in Leo and Saturn in Leo. And we do have a Sag moon that's square Saturn. So there is a similarity there. Sag moons, so Leo moons really want to be seen. Their pride can get hurt very easily. Mm-hmm. They don't like, humiliation is a bit of a fear, right? Or being ignored. That will drive them nuts. For all of you that are dating people with Leo moons, that's how to drive them nuts. Now, Sag moons, on the other hand, they can be bombastic. And I do not mean this as a political statement, and we could go either way, but he's a great example. Donald Trump is a Sag moon. Charlie Sheen has a Sag South Node. And
Trump also doesn't like to be ignored, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, he's got other things. He's Leo Rise.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a Leo moon sitting here, and I'm like, oh, come back to me. I want to talk again.
Yeah, see what I mean? Yeah. It's just their warmth. Leo moons ruled by the sun. They're warm. Sag moons are ruled by Jupiter. They're jovial. They have boundary issues. They're a little more... Like I just heard today that they just amended the GOP platform that he can name his VP 30 minutes before they decide to announce it. He can change it. That's a Sag moon. Leo is loyal.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great distinction. I like that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's kind of, I guess, what we'll be looking for, Scott.
Well, I'm excited to see which one of those is in the guest. I assume there will be a little bit of both, but if one of them rises up and is much more obvious than the other, that'll be fun. And you guys will help direct some of the questions a little bit if there's more details that you want, but I'll kind of guide us through. And we'll be right back after these commercial breaks, this commercial break for our favorite product.
Yeah.
Right after this, we'll see you with our guest.
Hey, Astro Detective listeners, this is your resident astrologer, Sarah Hartshorn, and I wanted to let you know about my coaching practice called My Cosmic Coach, where I offer natal astrology readings, human design readings, and a whole lot more. And right now, for fans of the Astro Detectives podcast, I'm offering $25 off my signature one-on-one coaching session. This is a holistic approach I developed that will guide you through any kind of decision you're trying to make or challenge you're navigating, where we're going to consult both your human design and astrology charts and even pull a few cards too. And you'll walk away with really clear, really practical and actionable advice that is aligned and specific just to you. So head on over to mycosmiccoach.com and use promo code AstroDetectives at checkout when you book a one-on-one coaching session with me. That's mycosmiccoach.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here joined by our guest this week. Welcome to Astro Detectives, Anson.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. This is a really cool concept.
Thank you very much. We're excited about testing astrology, debunking or proving the ancient phenomenon. I'll just repeat our introduction. Mostly proving. We're at 56%.
Whatever.
Oh boy.
I'm at 56%, not astrology.
Statistics be damned. All right. The place we always like to start is, can you tell us a little bit about what you're wearing and if you have any tattoos?
Yeah. So I'm wearing a black polo shirt with some gray shorts and a belt. No socks because I'm in my home office. Obviously, I'm wearing a baseball cap, and then I have 7 tattoos.
Whoa.
All right.
Yeah.
Any especially meaningful ones, or if you were to say that one kind of speaks to who you are mostly?
Yeah, I mean, I have some dumb ones from my youth, of course, but I do have one that I have. It's sort of a matching pair with my wife, and so I have one of those on my forearm, and the rest of them I like, but not as much as that one, I would say.
Okay, and that one just has significance because it's a matching one, or is it of something that means something to you?
It's a little of both. I mean, it's kind of hard to see with the angle, but it has like a compass, and it has, just some interesting things that we both agreed on. So she has like a shorter version on her back, and I have kind of the longer version on my arm here. And so, yeah, it has maybe 1 or 2 little things in there that we both like have meaning to us. And then the rest of it's just a cool design that we both liked. So
like the compass has meaning to you?
I mean, I guess in a general way, yeah, it's like pointing the direction you should go. And, my son was in Boy Scouts. And so, like they use compasses a lot, and it's a, important tool. So it was kind of a cool thing that we kind of built that tattoo around.
Yeah.
Can I also ask how tall you are?
I am 6'1", and probably shrinking from this.
Okay.
As I get older.
At a certain age, we start getting smaller.
We must be. I don't know.
Yeah, unless we're on the zero gravity.
That's right.
Next, your career, work history. What have you kind of been drawn to doing? What do you feel like you're good at?
Yeah, sure. I like at the beginning of kind of my career, I was all over the place. I was in IT. I was a bartender, and a server. And then I stumbled into real estate. And so I've been doing real estate, now for almost 2 decades now. Started really young. No, I'm just kidding. Just started, it was a good transition from IT and what I was doing. And so I would say real estate investing. I have my license. And so that's where my brain is, and I can't seem to do anything else. So I'm too stubborn to do anything else. So here we are.
What is it about real estate that you're drawn to, or what part of the job do you like doing the most?
I definitely really enjoy helping, my clients on the agent side. I have, some really, even like today, I had a closing today with kind of a unique client that had very interesting and timeline and, specific problems, and going in there and problem solving, making it happen for them and helping them with the kind of the next phase of their life. Things like that are really important to me. And so I'm drawn to that. And then also, I guess, just the freedom of time and the freedom of kind of like, if I don't feel like working for 2 months, I don't have to, but I also don't get paid. So there's a downside to that too.
Yeah. Flexibility. Cool. And congratulations on the closing today.
Oh, thank you.
That might be in your chart if they look at transits and today was a close. I don't know.
I mean, that's a good point.
In the future.
How would your friends describe you?
I mean, I think that they would describe me mostly as just kind of easygoing, outgoing, could be loud for sure. Loyal, like I have your back, pretty much. And it just, I guess, just kind of fun to be around. Sometimes they don't take me seriously because I'm just always like joking around or messing around. It feels like, yeah, I think that sums it up.
And like, you're not gonna cause any problems at the party, kind of thing. You're easygoing, relaxed, fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely not, confrontational in that sense, like with people I don't know or not comfortable with. So yeah, I'm not going to be starting fights. I'm not going to get rowdy and do extremely stupid stuff, for sure. So
can I ask on that though? Easygoing, but have you been accused of being very stubborn?
I can't say I have. No, I'm probably sometimes too easygoing. Like, will sometimes avoid like confrontation in some ways so that I don't have to deal with it, or just don't have to like, it's easy for me to let things go, whereas other people might be stuck on them and obsess over, details of conversations or things like that. So.
Okay.
And when you do have difficult emotions, whether it's frustration or sadness or anger, how do you kind of process them? How do you work through that?
I'm pretty, probably to my detriment, I'm probably too quiet, I think. So I'm pretty, I guess, bottled up, like guys do these days. It's like I try to internally process those things. And so I like, instead of going and finding somebody to talk to usually about it, I'll just internally try and process through it and work through, either solutions or like what I can learn from this event, or, pick up some reading and see if that will help me through, those things. I guess I'm pretty like solitary when it comes to that.
Can I ask you, do you hold on to things for a long time, or is it easy for you to let go of them?
I'd say for the most part, it's easy for me to let go of things. I don't like hold a grudge for, forever, anything like that. Or like want to like plot revenge for half my life or anything like that. Like I'm more apt to just let it go and not have it occupy my mind space, so I can, fill it with more positive things that will help me today, versus like trying to be poisoned by this thing that I'm just like carrying around. That's how I think about it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So it sounds like you work through it kind of on your own, but you are working through it. It's not a visible process, but it's something that's a little bit more internal.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I need like a punching bag in the garage or something, but I don't feel like I do. So.
Well, we don't make the diagnosis until the end of the show.
Oh, okay. Please tell me what to do now.
Can you talk a little bit about your childhood and upbringing? Just what were you like as a kid? How was that experience for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, my parents got divorced really young, when I was really young. I have two older brothers, half brothers. And, my parents were only married for a couple of years. And so, growing up, I pretty much always grew up with my stepdad and my mom. And then I would go visit my dad and his new wife. And I have two older brothers. Both are, one's 4 years older than me, and then one's another 4 years older than him. So we have a pretty wide age gap. And so I had, basically two role models to grow up with. I was always trying to copy, what they're doing. They're older and cooler and have, cooler music than I do. So, and, like, like most childhoods, it's a lot of really good stuff and really good memories, and, sprinkled in with some, tragic things that happened, and transitions, and just kind of normal-ish stuff that people go through in their childhood. But overall, it's pretty good.
As far as your role models, you described your brothers as being like the cool brothers to look up to. Can you talk about parental role models at all? Just kind of like how you would describe your parents?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess in this kind of new age, I have 4, parents basically. And so, I don't know, like, I don't know if one stands out more than the other since, I don't know how much I'm supposed to say or not say, I guess, when it comes to events and stuff in my life, but
it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Just don't say your age when things happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the only thing off the table. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was, I grew up with my mom and my stepdad. When I was, my mom passed away from cancer. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. That's fine. You guys don't look at that part, you guys.
No, we won't.
Okay.
When I was
young. I mean, you were young when that happened.
I was young when that happened. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like,
no problem.
That was over my head.
Okay. And so, and then I transitioned to living with my dad. And so that was like a big move. My brothers, since they're much older, one was going to college at the time. And so it was kind of a big transition there. I'd say, like, out of all of my parents, I think my mom probably was the one I looked up to the most. She just was very, like, kind and compassionate. And she always wanted to be involved in, stuff at church, and definitely was very fierce for protecting her kids and stuff like that. So it was pretty, I guess, instrumental in growing up, I guess.
Yeah. And then, of course, losing her at a young age is always rough.
Right.
Was that a surprise? Was that a process that you saw coming? I don't know, kind of what happened and how did that affect you?
I mean, in hindsight, definitely it was like, 2 years of being sick. And so there was some lead up. It wasn't like, a sudden accident, like a car accident or something like that. So there was lead up of progression of her getting worse, and then finally, obviously, passing away. And so that probably is easier to deal with, I guess, than just like having somebody disappear from your life, the next day from a car accident or something like that.
Yeah, you get to have the conversations you want to have and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I lost my mom to cancer a little later in life, but still, it's never a fun experience.
No, I wouldn't say it was a fun experience.
No. Moving on to brighter things. Your marriage, romantic partners, can you kind of describe, you said you're married, your wife, and kind of like, can you describe her and what drew you to her?
I mean, we kind of started off as friends. And, I've known her family for a long time, and she's known my family for a long time as well. And so we probably had, a good amount, 5 or 6 years of friendship, of just knowing each other. And then later on, we were, a little bit closer friends before we, started dating. And so that was pretty instrumental in kind of, I guess, our relationship is, we kind of had this strong foundation of, we knew each other pretty well. And then now we were trying to get to know each other, on a different level. Like, we didn't have to like become friends and then also figure out what a relationship looks like after that. Like, I had lived at her parents' house for a while after, during like a transition part of my life. And so, it was like, I know her parents and her siblings, and, I considered her brother, my brother, basically, ever since we were younger. And so it was kind of an easy transition from like being really good friends to going on to date, and then, dated for a while, for, a good 4 years, and then got married after that. And so, knowing each other for that long and then getting married, it's like, it seems like it has a more chance of success, I guess in our case.
Yeah. And then that's an interesting transition though. Did one of you say, hey, this is a great friendship, but I think there's more there? Was that you or her, or did you just simultaneously come up with the idea?
It was some of pressure from friends. It's kind of like friends who knew us both. And, they're like, this is pretty obvious to the rest of us, that you guys should start dating. And so it just wasn't obvious to us, I guess. And so we kind of looked at each other and we're like, I didn't want to ruin our friendship because, I obviously knew her family and her siblings and everything like that. And so, we kind of dipped our toes in the water a little bit to see if it's something that we both wanted. And it seemed like we were both like ready to go. So, we just started dating one day and that was it.
So that would have been like 1996, 97 that you kind of started, if you got married in 2001. So when you're saying about 4 or 5 years you'd been dating.
How am I supposed to answer that?
Just years wise, just
yeah, it wasn't like
I don't think this is
97. I won't. I just know your marriage date because you put it down. And
okay.
And I was looking at something in the chart that would have been happening that potentially was the switch of the relationship.
That's I understand. Yeah.
So was it like 96 or 97 when that turned from a friendship to a relationship?
Yeah, I'd say that that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. You mentioned kids. You have one or more?
We have one.
Okay. Can you kind of describe your child?
Well, right now he's a teenager about to go to high school, so they're not all kind words. No, I'm just kidding. He's teenagers are rough, but he's a really good kid. He's very thoughtful, insightful. He's hilarious. He's like one of the funniest people I know. And so, I don't like, I could go on forever, but he's just a really kind and thoughtful kid and is funny and outgoing and really well liked by his teachers and friends. And feels like we all have like a really good relationship. Since he's an only child, it's kind of we're both his siblings, his playmates, and his parents kind of all rolled into one. And so it's probably, maybe unique to only children, but yeah, it feels like having, a buddy around most of the time. And then sometimes I have to like crack down on him to make sure he's not, doing anything really stupid. But yeah, it's, he's a great kid.
Does he easily respect your authority when you do that?
He does. Yeah, he pretty much knows like when things are serious and when they're not. And yeah, that's kind of important, I guess, to that relationship is like, yeah, we have like a ton of fun, but when it's time to like actually crack down and make sure that things are happening, like he does respect that authority, which is good. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Moving on to money or debt. Are you like easy come, easy go with money? Have you always had a relationship where you make it and spend it, or you like to make it and hold it, save it for big purchases? What's that like?
Yeah, I'd say I mostly make it and spend it for the most part. We have, some savings and things for the future, but for the most part, it's kind of I don't know. It's one of these things where it's like, we're not going to be here forever, but we also know that like second generational wealth always gets really weird. And so we're like, we're going to enjoy our time here and the most that we can. And we don't need to pass on like the next 5 generations worth of wealth. And so it is a little bit more easy come, easy go, I guess. We'll go and on vacation and we'll go have fun and, we'll do that instead of probably stockpiling, more money away for a rainy day or for a downturn or a recession or something like that, where I have friends who are more into that other mindset and it just doesn't click with me at all. Like I can't understand that of like, one day we're going to do this thing, but if I could do it today and then also be okay for the future, that's more of like my mindset instead of like putting off everything to retirement. I mean, I watched, obviously my mom pass away early and my wife's mom passed away, before retirement. And she was like, she had this date in mind, and that's when she was going to go do all this stuff, and she didn't make it. And so to me, that's a lesson in, I need to do stuff that is important and makes sense today, and not have this day in the future that I may not even reach.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good insight. And I'm wondering if you're like me when you spend money. Like sometimes I'm like, can I afford this? It'll probably be fine. Do you ever have that mentality?
Yeah. Sometimes it is just a send it mentality of like, the money's not all there today to do X, Y, Z, but I know, I have a kind of a relationship with business and money where if like, I know if I do the right things for the next 6 months, it'll be totally fine. And so, yeah, I guess I am a little bit like you in that respect.
All right.
All right. And health and self-care, are there any like health concerns that you've had, or like, I guess, reasons to be, operations, this sort of thing. And
Sure.
then self-care is in terms of what kind of things do you do that actually, you found work especially well for you to remain healthy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess health overall is pretty good, knock on wood. There's been, I guess in the last like 2 years, there's been a surgery that I've had to have on detached retina for one of my eyes. And that was a much longer process than I anticipated, but it was a kind of a long, grueling process, and just kind of like ongoing issue with that eye that kind of just got resolved last year. And so, but besides that, it's been, pretty healthy. I'm not like in and out of the hospital. I maybe have a flu every year, have allergies, of course, every spring, but other than that, it's pretty good. As far as self-care, I could definitely do a better job of that. I enjoy both like going on walks and hiking. I guess those are very related, but getting out and going on like a 5-mile walk, like that's or a 5-mile hike or 10-mile hike or whatever that is. Those things are things that are really important to me that I enjoy, but I don't do enough of, unfortunately. So.
Was it your left eye or your right eye?
That was my left eye.
Left eye. Okay.
And for those of us that don't know exactly, like a detached retina, does that mean it like came all the way out, or how does that work? It sounds painful.
That's a good question. The good news is there's no pain involved. The retina is just like a lining at the very back of your eye, and either through injury or obviously it could just happen randomly. It just kind of folds, like it kind of like just tears and then just kind of folds over. And so they go back in and they repair it with a laser and do all kinds of fun stuff. And, but no eyes popped out and no pain. Whew. So those things are good.
Okay, good. I guess maybe there aren't that many nerves back there or something. That's surprising. It sounds bad.
Thankfully, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're back to 100% or,
Yeah.
recovered.
Definitely. 100, back to 100%. Yeah.
Looking back at the last 12 months, I know part of it was getting over that recovery from the eye, but any other big things that you would say kind of the last 12 months have meant for you?
Yeah, I mean, I did have a kidney stone, I guess at the beginning of last year, that I went like, I think I've had like 2 incidents of this, but I went into the doctor, or I went into the ER just for some pain meds or for some help, because those are painful too. But and they just did some blood tests, and they were like, your iron count's low. And I was, they admitted me for a day, 2 days, I guess, pumped me full of iron and then sent me on my way. So it wasn't like a life-threatening emergency or anything, but it was definitely, a health incident in the last, 12 or so months.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what date it was that you got the kidney stone?
Yeah, it would have been like January 3rd, 2023, I think is when I went to the hospital. Okay. Yeah.
I've had a couple of those, and the first time I didn't know what was happening, and I was just screaming and driving to the hospital.
2023 is like, welcome to a new year.
Yeah.
Here's a kid.
Yeah, it felt like it too, because it like business is slow during that time. So it was like, my son was on winter break, and it was pretty chill. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, ooh, I got like a familiar pain, like where your kidneys are. And I was just like, I know what this is. And then after about 6 hours, like the pain got bad enough to go to the ER. Mm-hmm. So good times.
So that was a year and a half ago.
That would have been a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, big themes over the last 12 months. Was it the recovery, like physical recovery from the eye, or any other big themes that you would say that the last 12 months have meant to you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the last 12 months I did, like as part of the recovery from the detached retina, you do get cataracts, and then you can get like reverse cataracts where like it clouds over, the opposite side of your lens. And I was just in the lucky pool of that. And so I had a period of the end of last year, being just like nervous about kind of what was going on. And I was like losing sight again in my eye, or just getting fuzzy. And after looking it up, I realized, okay, I probably have this. It's like it's a 30-second procedure that costs, $300 outpatient. And so in December, I got that done, and it was just as intended. It was like 30 seconds, $300, boom, perfect vision again. So it was like this time of, I'm in some sort of recovery, but like my eyes like getting worse again. And then boom, like this big relief, kind of December forward, of like, okay, like that's past it. There's no lens there anymore or like the encapsulation is gone. So it can never happen again. And so anything more bad that happens to the eye is going to be even worse. But for right now, I'm past it. A huge amount of relief from such a simple procedure, of like literal 30 seconds. It was pretty crazy. So
I want that job, $300 for 30 seconds. That's a pretty sweet gig. If you can, I know.
I'm sure that laser is, pretty expensive, but
that laser has a beach house and is putting all of its kids through college.
Heck yeah.
Astrologers, we've covered some ground. Is there any areas that you guys have been looking at and wanted to get some more details on?
I have 4 quick questions for you. What is your sense of humor? Would you describe it as dark, or I don't know?
Maybe dark or anything
maybe I'm
else.
leading the witness. Sorry.
Yeah, you are leading the witness. So, I'd say like, I would say it's sarcastic, dark, and dry, kind of all at the same time.
Who's like your favorite comedian?
That's a good question. I would say like I resonate with like the Chevy Chases and kind of in that like realm of comedy.
Okay.
I think of him as physical comedy. Is that kind of, what do you mean by Chevy Chase? Is just old school and a little bit, I guess he does have a little dry delivery.
Yeah, he's pretty, like a lot of his characters, like in Community or something, they're kind of like quick and sarcastic, like, or biting, so
that's why his co-stars love working with him.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh man, I honestly had no clue. Like my son's asked me that before too, where
you didn't honestly, even want to be like a vet or, something.
Nothing
superhero?
Yeah, that superhero. That would have been awesome. Yeah, I don't have a great answer for that because I honestly can't remember like at any point going like, I want to go into the military or I want to be, a doctor or a vet or whatever. Like I can't remember anything from that.
Well, what did you do for fun? What were your hobbies?
Like when I was little?
Yeah. Did you ride your bike? Did you play in the woods?
Yeah. We explored a lot. We kind of had a big open space and gully behind our house, and that was kind of our playground. And so we explored a lot, rode bikes a lot. We I enjoyed playing with obviously just I guess just regular toys and stuff, but like going outside and being like out till dark was always like the thing that's pretty much all we did.
Did you do video games at all, or do you like that now?
Yeah. We definitely were, we definitely had some video games in the house. That was fun. And then also, I guess, we did watch movies and sit down and, as a kind of either brothers or as a family, like watch some movies from the time too. So that was, those are really fond memories too. So.
Okay. Mindy, did you have any questions?
Well, it was really weird because I was just going to ask about what he wanted to be as a kid, and it came out of your mouth. That was that, astrologer ninja had.
And Mindy's also a psychic, we're finding out.
Yeah. On the survey, you had listed you had rated your childhood at a 3. So, and I'm just curious. There's no right or wrong answer there. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, I like when I think of my childhood, I think of, obviously there was a ton of really good times with my brothers. And then I obviously had a transition time where, I moved in with my dad and, didn't have my brothers around anymore. And so when I think of like, I guess overall, those experiences definitely shaped kind of my entire, I guess, childhood and worldview. So when I look back, overall it was good, but those things, would probably drag it down to a 3. Since I did put that on the survey, I guess. So
you can also update the number if you feel like you put a 3 and you
I don't know.
Three means something else.
It might have been harsh. We'll give it a 5, I guess.
All right.
But what was your relationship? How did you feel? I don't know what was your relationship with your dad like? I know you moved in with him, but what was it like?
It was, he was always, I guess, he was like the parent that we would go to every month. We'd spend a weekend at their house. And so, we were always, he was just kind of the parent who was the fun, he's just like, we're going to have fun for 2 or 3 days. And then you go back to like school and real life. And so, moving in with him, I always felt like he didn't really know what to do with me. Like all of a sudden you have like an 11-year-old move in and you're kind of like, like, well, you're fed and you're clothed and, you go to school. But after that, it's like, he didn't really feel like he knew what to do with me since he didn't have me full time since I was little. It was kind of like just a different dynamic, I guess.
Okay.
Any media recommendations? That's always fun and it does kind of give a glimpse of your personality. But books, movies, TV, music, anything jump out that's a favorite of yours? Yeah, I mean,
for books, my favorite book that I've ever, I've probably given out a few dozen copies now, but The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. It's just, it goes into stoicism and just kind of that mentality and operating system. And that really resonated with me, later in life where, kind of like tools to help you through your daily life, which I felt like I needed and I still need. I love that book. I think that pretty much, anyone who could read should probably read that. But, as far as like movies, I do love movies, but there's nothing that like really sticks out. That's just, here's the best movie you've ever watched. One of my brothers is definitely that guy who can recommend those off the top of his head. But I can't even remember what I put on the questionnaire.
Oh,
now.
You don't. It's whatever's on your mind now. Yeah. But,
I mean, there's. I don't know. I can't think of anything specific right now.
Well, that Stoicism jumps out to me too. On episode 3, I believe, or episode 2, my Uncle John came on and he recommended a book by Ryan Holiday for Stoicism
really?
too. He actually gave me a copy where every day of the year you have a different lesson.
Yeah.
What is it about Stoicism that really speaks to you?
I think that entire mentality of like, I can control, my emotions and how I react to things. I can't control anything beyond that. I can't control somebody cutting me off in traffic and flipping me off, but I can control how I react to that and then how that affects me for the rest of the day or the rest of the week or whatever that looks like. That to me was kind of it's pretty simple, but it's a powerful revelation of like, if I can be in control of my reactions to things and how I deal with them, then I actually have power versus always reacting to other people, what they're doing. Like I can't control if my, wife wants to leave me for, a 24-year-old guy at her gym or something like that. Like I can't control that, but the things that are in my control, I feel like I have power over, which is pretty important. And then like, just things like, just like the title of that book, the problems that you encounter are really the things that teach you the most. Like the obstacle is the way is basically like how you overcome that obstacle and how you get past it is actually the lesson. Like the thing itself doesn't matter, but how you react to it, how you get over it, and how you learn from it is the absolute like lesson. And so those things really resonated with me and still do, obviously.
I have a couple more questions for you. Okay, what is like the angriest you've ever been, or like what really pisses you off?
Oh man. Angriest I've ever been. I maybe when I was, when I was young, like just finishing high school or just about to finish high school, I didn't have a great relationship with my stepmom. Surprisingly, like things are actually good now, but in like high school and middle school, things were not great. And so she like pushed my buttons to the point where I remember having like this thought going through my head, and I don't get violent. I'm not a violent person, but it was like I could either push her down the stairs or move out. And so I just moved out. And so that I think is probably like the most angry I've ever been, because it feels like, somebody else takes over and you're just seeing red and you're just like, and thankfully, my teenage brain had just a tiny bit of moment of clarity of like, this probably isn't the best decision. So, why don't we just get away from it?
Was she trying to control you, or was there a power struggle?
She really loved pushing buttons, and it was, she would, unfortunately, I probably have never like talked about this besides my wife, but she would like say certain things about, my mom. And I felt like that was a off limits thing for somebody else to talk about. And so, yeah, it was something like that kind of sent me over the edge. And it was kind of just like poking the bear and just to see what would happen. And, I moved out before I graduated and kind of, I kind of wrote her off for a long time. And then once I had my own kid, obviously my dad wanted to be, part of his life and stuff. And so it was just one of those things. It was like, if she, ever does anything to my son, I'll just cut them both out. And so thankfully, like things have been actually really, really good and really much, much better than, when I was a kid. So, but that's probably the angriest I've ever been in my life.
Do you struggle with perfectionism? Like, do you mentally feel like, do you beat yourself up because you weren't perfect or you didn't say the perfect thing?
Not really. I think I live in a nice like acceptance of like, I'm going to say the wrong things. I'm going to, do the wrong things. I don't dwell on like perfectionism, I don't think.
Okay. Is it hard for you to say I love you or to be very open with your feelings?
I would say not. I would say
Okay.
I like wear more of my feelings on my sleeve.
Okay.
When it comes to that kind of stuff. Like I'll be quick, like even with friends, like male friends who I've known for a long time, I'll tell them I love them. And, if there's important things going on in their life, how much they mean to me. And I feel like that's important. So.
Do people come to you for advice a lot?
I
or do you just give it?
Yeah, whether they want it or not. I would say yes. Like I do get asked for advice. Usually it comes from a place of like where my expertise lies, so like with either real estate or finance or something like that. But the people who are closest to me, they'll ask me for advice and in important ways, I guess, like that are meaningful to them, and they trust me with giving them the right answer or giving them perspective if they ask for it. I try not to give unsolicited advice. I think that's that's a little can be annoying, I think so.
And then I guess my last question is, do you have any interest in like psychology, the paranormal, and like things like taboos that you shouldn't talk about kind of things?
I do, like growing up in the church and then later like not going to church, like there are things that are extremely interesting to me when it comes to, I guess, paranormal, taboo subjects, things like that. Like in my business life, I'm definitely like no religion or politics. And then like in my personal life, it's more interesting to talk over like something like a taboo subject, or I guess paranormal doesn't come up in my day-to-day life.
I was actually wondering if that's a part of your job, because like I feel like haunted houses is like a thing that could come up. Does that ever come up for you?
No, unfortunately, like I've probably been through maybe 1,000 houses, and I would say a good half of those or more were vacant. Like, we worked like bank-owned foreclosures for a long time, and so these are like houses where people, the bank took them back, and, obviously a really bad situation. Sometimes there were, a death in the home or something like that. And, I've been through, like, I'm more scared of, some guy squatting in the basement who thinks I'm a cop than like a haunted house type situation.
Okay.
So like, I find that stuff fascinating, but I've never encountered it.
Okay.
You twice now you've mentioned it first in conjunction with your mom going to church, and then you just said I grew up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me was suddenly very, interesting.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss that?
He said it in regards to his mom early on, and I kind of dinged it. So church was an important part of your family life then.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, going to like both my brothers, being older than me, they both went to youth group and they both did that when we were kids. And, I did the same thing. And then, when I was in high school, one of my brothers moved back from college, and he, he started working at a church, and I got involved there. And that's actually where I met, my wife and her family and stuff. So yeah, it's that, I guess, building in that institution and is things that, stuff that's brought a lot of people into my life for sure.
Right. Yeah. And it's great. I just, like I said, I wanted to clarify it. That's
great.
Then at a certain point, you and your wife decided we're we don't need to do this anymore?
Yeah.
That was a conscious decision, or
it was, yeah. It was definitely a conscious decision of like, we're not getting what we want out of this, and it doesn't have practical things to help me in my day-to-day life. Whereas I felt like Stoicism had more actual hands-on practical things that could help me on a day-to-day basis. And so just, that was probably part of the catalyst. But, like most church stories, there's like stuff that happened and, friends that got kicked out or whatever. And we didn't agree with that. And we didn't want to be part of it kind of at the same time too. So,
Yeah. Astrologers, any other questions?
I think I'm okay.
We're good. All right. What we do now, Anson, is we're actually going to put you in the waiting room and we're going to let them kind of discuss some of the answers and see if they're on the same page. And after about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll pull you back in and we'll find out if they've come to the correct conclusion or not. So you got a little break.
All right, let's do it.
All right. We'll see you back in a minute.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, astrologers. What are we thinking?
All right. Well, early on, I did some flip-flopping.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I think coming into this after just like looking at the survey alone and the transits, it was a little hard, but I was feeling like the transits were lining up more with the Pisces and the Aquarius. But then when we started talking to him, I thought, oh, is this a Taurus rise or the Leo moon? But then when we really got into it, I was like, no, I think this is the Pisces sun, Aquarius rising, just based on, really like when I asked him if he was stubborn and he was like, no, I'm really easygoing. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a Taurus rising with a Leo moon.
And Leo moon is a fixed moon.
Yeah.
That's why I asked, do you hold on to things?
Yeah.
And let me also say, when I asked about the date that the relationship changed, Uranus would have been crossing that Aquarius rise.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
That's why I got was this 96, because Uranus moves slowly. So it's in a point, just a 3 or 4 degree range for a couple of years. And my son happens to fall in his rise. So I knew exactly when Uranus was there. I'm assuming it's the Aquarian rise. They went from friends to being married. That's also an Aquarian Venus versus a Cancer Venus.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's really, so I'm an Aquarius rising. I've got my Saturn in Virgo in the 8th with the North Node in the 8th, just like I think him. And he and I have had a lot of parallels in our life and think about things the same way. So I was like, wow. And he's wearing black.
Yeah, I almost laughed.
Like when he was going through the retina challenges, he said it was like 9 months of surgeries. I was going through like a couple of different surgeries that, over and over. I had a kidney stone that's recently, within the last 5 years. And, similar challenges, dynamics with parents, just a lot of things. He also said that, he really avoids confrontation, and that really reminded me of Venus in the first house.
And a Mars in Pisces.
Yes. On the south node. Yeah.
And even a Pisces south node versus an Aries south node.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
true.
Aries south
true.
node is going to feel like, boom, I have to be in there. And then when that tattoo he showed as his favorite, it was about showing people their direction. And that's both very Piscean and Jupiter. I mean, Sag moon, which could be Jupiterian either way. Let me show you the way to go.
And the stoicism, I thought that's very Sagittarius. I feel like the Taurus, Gemini, Leo would have had a very different vibe. That person, I think, would have been, that person is a Gemini with Mercury and Gemini. I feel like they would have been very verbose, and then I don't know. I know that I've been wrong before, but this to me is he had so I was trying to clock my impression when he first came on during our commercial break, and he is almost like a little intimidating looking, and he has a very professional setup. So I think when I think back about it, I thought he was very cool, so I'm like, oh, that's Aquarius rising. I was physically thinking more Taurus, without anything but just his face. His face was looking more Taurus to me, but I actually think this was Aquarius rising, yeah, because I definitely was like, oh, this guy seems really professional. He seems really cool. I feel like a loser.
And going back to the moon again, I don't remember the specific question. I think you asked Sarah, it might have been Scott, about, how easily do you say I love you? Was something like that. And he said, no, I'm really a heart on my sleeve kind of guy. I don't need to wait very long. Okay, so just going on moons. One, we have an Aquarius Venus in the first house, and that's, again, more of a first house Venus than the third Venus. But the Leo moon is conjunct Mars, conjunct Saturn down in the fourth. It's more hidden. The Sag moon is up at the top of the chart. Mm-hmm. So it's not hidden. I'm just all out there with it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the Pisces energy, the Venus in the first, and then also the other chart, the Gemini has Saturn in Leo, which I know can be like they really struggle with where, speaking from the heart. They struggle to speak from the heart. That's like their big karmic lesson is to learn how to do that. And the Aquarius chart, yes, also has Saturn in Virgo, but it's retrograde. That's why I asked him about his relationship with his dad. Mm. And I mentioned this to you last night. A retrograde Saturn, you've got a father that, what he said is, my dad didn't know what to do with me, right? So it's not that the father wasn't there, but if Saturn is retrograde, the father's somehow been absent. Sometimes they're literally gone, or they're buried, or Saturn's buried in the 12th sometimes. And briefly, eons ago, like in around 2001, the 1 year I lived in LA, I did a few parties there, and I'd have to look for something really quick to get someone to listen to me. And Saturn retrograde was one of the things I picked. Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing, because I know you mentioned this last night, your North Node is in Virgo, your South Node is in Pisces. So is mine. And when he was talking about the things you control versus the things you can't control, that's very North Node, South Node in Pisces. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. All right. Well, I think we're in agreement that we think it's the Pisces sun.
All right. We're in agreement, and we will find out which chart actually belongs to Anson based on all of his answers right after this. Welcome back, everybody. The astrologers are in agreement. They've chosen one of the charts, and we have Anson back with us to reveal which chart was his, using his sun sign, which you do know which your sun sign is. Like when some people say you're a blank for the zodiac. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My zodiac sign, sure.
I feel like this is where we need that "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" music, because my heart always races at this moment, even if I feel certain. I'm like, it's like, so I don't know if anyone else feels like intense, but I always feel like on edge and
brought in
palms.
your phone a friend. We have the extra astrologer with you now. We've been doing that for a while.
Man.
Now, we want to poll the audience at some point when we start doing some live streams. And if anybody knows how to do this, you let us know, email me. But we'd love to do some live on YouTube, and we'll poll the audience. And then that way, Sarah, you can also have some of that info to work with.
Yeah, and on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they also removed one wrong answer. So maybe do that too.
All right. That's a good point. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the wrong chart. And then we'll see what's left.
All right, Anson. So just to tell you, we had a choice between a Gemini and a Pisces, and Anson, are you a Pisces?
I am.
Oh, God. You did not sound like you were going to say yes. You sounded like, and I was like, I don't know. In that split second, I was already like, Gemini.
Already connecting the dots on the other chart, God. Being like, oh, this was this. I missed this.
No, I wasn't connecting any dots. I was just in disbelief for a split second.
All right. Well, the astrologers can be
Mindy. Mindy, you are the first guest astrologer who is 2 for 2.
Yay!
Oh. Good job.
Good job. I just wanted to call that out. And yeah. And Mindy, let the audience know where they can contact you for a reading.
You can go to MindyMendelsohn.com, which is long spelling. MindyMendelsohn.com. Or email me at SedonaAstrologer.com. That's easier.
Oh,
that's
okay,
my direct email. Let's do the easy way versus my website. So
I don't know why, but it sounded like as you're spelling out your URL, it could be set to music. Like I remember the Mickey Mouse song.
That's what was in my head.
Yeah.
Came across MINDYMEN.
Yeah.
And Anson, we do a little bonus show after this where we kind of discuss the episode and they go through what they got right and how they came to that conclusion. Do you have time to stick around?
I do. Yeah. I'd love to hear some insight on how I'm so easily read over here, I guess.
And Anson, do you have anything to promote?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's great. Thank you for the opportunity. If you're interested in real estate investing, anything like that, I do have a YouTube channel at Anson Young. So catch me over there if you want to dive into that world.
Cool.
Yeah, I was wondering.
We forgot to ask about that.
Yeah, you have a logo behind you, so I was like, I bet he does more than just the selling of the houses. He's got some advice there too. So.
I have a little advice here and there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into some advice on the debrief episode coming up. So guys will have to head over to Patreon to find that for free. But for now, that's it, everyone. Let us know what you thought by commenting on whatever platform you follow us on. Links to our accounts are in the show notes. If you like the show and you want to support it, you can visit patreon.com/AstroDetectives. That's also where the debrief is. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss the next episode. Rate and review and tell your friends. And until next time, this case is closed.